Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of The Terri Cole Show. I'm so excited that you're here. I want to start this episode with a question. If something is really important to you, can you go to the mat for it? Can you actually negotiate and stand up for what it is that you want? Or do you avoid the conflict and then end up living with the regret? Because in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how to pick your battles wisely, how to stand your ground, and how to negotiate like a pro. So for those of you, if you might be new to my channel, I want to say welcome. Please introduce yourself in the comments because we are a friendly bunch. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so that when new stuff comes out, you won't miss a thing. My name is Terri Cole, and I am the author of Boundary Boss, which is right there. That is a book that came out last April. You can get it at boundarybossbook.com or anywhere that fine books are sold. So, you know how much I love all of your questions and all of your comments. I read everything, and I love to highlight different comments that people put on the channel just to say thank you to you. So today I'm highlighting a comment from Bill Sims on the Repair After Rupture episode that was a couple of weeks ago. And he wrote, "Love your work, Terri. I've been following you for about 9 months. Your book is remarkably transparent and healing. Be well." Why, thanks, Bill. I am happy that you are here. So before we get started with today's episode, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and that you hit the bell. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Now on to today's content. So let's talk about picking your battles wisely. Because fighting, because we're in a bad mood or for no good reason, is not good for our relationships and not good for us. So how do you pick your battles wisely? Well, only really go to the mat for things that are important to you. Like meaning if it's going to, if you're going to need to fight for it, make sure that they're things that matter to you. You want to also get really clear about your motive in the process. While I was writing this book during a global pandemic, while my mother was going through cancer treatments, there were certain things that, as much as I'm a boundary boss, I really had to become a real boundary boss in my life. And that meant because my time was so tight with what I was doing and I was so worried about my mother, but I also was committed to delivering this book to the publisher at a certain time, and I had to do that, which meant that I had to be really clear about how much bandwidth I had to give other people besides my mother, right? Luckily, I had 3 older sisters, so I wasn't alone in doing this. And she's okay now. Thank you for asking, because so many of you have, and she is cancer-free, thank God. But it was a very stressful time. And what I realized in writing my first book was that I couldn't let someone else decide what should be in this book. That even though, and the publisher is amazing, and I love them, and I had different developmental editors and people, of course, it goes through a bunch of processes. But in the end, even though they had more experience than I did with publishing books, nobody has the kind of experience I have with teaching how to become a boundary boss. Nobody but me, which I knew. And I was like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been teaching this course for 6 years. I know what works. So I chose the things that I would negotiate with them and say why I didn't want it to be the way that they were saying, or why it needed to be the way that I was, what my team and I were suggesting. And it really got me, I became so much more comfortable with going to the mat for things that were really important. And it's not about your comfort level per se. So just know this, what I'm walking you through today and what we're talking about, it might make you very uncomfortable. I mean, listen, I didn't love to do it. If you're someone who doesn't love conflict, even when it's necessary, even when you gotta fight, it doesn't mean you're gonna love it, and that's okay. But living with regrets, here's my 2 cents on why I'm doing this episode on knowing when you gotta fight, is that I think there is nothing more painful and nothing I would like to personally avoid more than having regrets. wishing I had said something, wishing I hadn't accepted something that I did, and then ruminating about it and thinking about it and feeling bad about it. That to me is worse than any conflict or any negotiation that I could find myself in, just personally. So I don't know about you, but I don't want to have any regrets. So anyway, back to you being clear, as we're picking our battles wisely, you being clear about your motives. Because sometimes I would get defensive about something, right? Because I'm getting all this feedback from people, and some of them I don't know, about my writing, about my style, about the voice of the book, la la la. And immediately I would want to be defensive, like, I have good reasons for wanting that. But the most important thing is not reacting immediately, because you can't go to the mat for everything. So we have to pause to be able to think about the other person's point of view, or is there wisdom in what they're saying, or why they're resisting the thing that we want, the thing that we're going to the mat for. So I learned a lot about humility, but also about patience throughout this process of writing a book. And that didn't stop me from going to the mat for the things that I felt like had to be the way that I needed them to be. So moving into how to stand your ground, part of it is realizing you might be uncomfortable. And that's okay. A lot of us who don't like conflict, we want everything to be sewn up in a neat bow immediately. Like, okay, we had that little thing and now everything is fine. Sometimes we have to put a pin in something and really think about what we're going for. So allow yourself to be uncomfortable and know that that's not a bad thing. Our comfort zone, so much of the time, is just a comfortable prison. So being outside of your comfort zone, it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable if you're going for something that is really important to you, right? If it matters to you, it's okay to be uncomfortable. We got to get clear when we're standing our ground, like why we're holding tight. Is it an ego thing? Is it a bruised ego? Is it a desire to be right? Or is it really that you're standing your ground because this matters to you? So to figure those things out, we need space. We need space to breathe. We need to be able to go, okay, let me go inward and look at, why is this important to me? What is my gut instinct saying? If I'm not so activated, right? If you get angry, or if you feel very hot about whatever it is you're fighting for, it's understanding. Is there another reason why I'm feeling this way? Because really, our own side of the street has to be clean. This could be a perfect place to see if you're having any kind of a repeating reality, as I like to call them. So you can use the 3 cues for clarity here, especially if you're really activated, if you're really hot. And you can just ask yourself, and don't worry, I created a little downloadable guide. You can just download it and you'll have the questions. But, who does this person remind me of? Where have I felt like this before? And why or how is this behavioral dynamic familiar to me? And here's the thing, both things, it can be an and rather than an or, even if you're having a transference, meaning you're responding currently in the current situation, being driven by unresolved feelings or injury or pain from the past. That doesn't mean that this isn't something that's worth fighting for, but deactivating that old response so that you can be in the here and now and be mindfully negotiating for your needs is the reason I bring up the transference thing. So even if you're having a transference, that does not negate the validity of what you might be fighting for in your relationship, or in your workplace, or wherever it is that you're deciding that this is worth fighting for. But we have to be able to be masters of ourselves, right? So what does it look like to really negotiate like a pro? I mean, first of all, it looks like not being superheated. It's not yelling. There's no way to effectively make your point if you're doing that. So part of it is staying calm is such an important part of effective negotiation. Before you go into make a boundary request or fight for this thing, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you have a plan, that you're clear about your why. And another thing is, I don't go into any negotiation. I used to be a talent agent for supermodels and for celebrities, so I was negotiating contracts. That was pretty much my job with lawyers all day long. I'm not a lawyer, by the way, and I wasn't a lawyer then. And I knew that my most effective way was to acknowledge their position, was to say, listen, I know you're just doing your job, and you know I'm just doing my job. You know what, Bob? None of this is personal, and I have no doubt that we can come to terms that feels good for everybody. So let's just start with, no, you know I respect you. Like, I would set a positive tone so that this is not a brawl. This is literally, especially professionally. I mean, it was a professional negotiation. And so there has to be a certain amount of respect. But I always felt like it was helpful in the negotiation process if I was able to acknowledge that they're doing their job too. And I don't think it's personal. And I also don't want them taking it personally. I'm negotiating for my client. So I'm trying to get more money and they're trying to get less money, right? That's as, and you have to see, you're really feeling the person out. Like, are we at a take it or leave it? That's how, you would end the negotiation. Like, they'd be like, that's the final offer. And I would always say, are we actually at a take it or leave it? Like, this is the final offer. And if she doesn't take this, then we're not doing the deal. And they would say yes. And then if I came back, I would be honest and say 7 times out of 10. If I said, okay, I'm sorry, but we have to leave it because the money isn't right. All right, 7 times out of 10, they would find more money. I'm just saying. So negotiation is an actual skill. I wouldn't, in my personal life, I wouldn't bluff like that. I would never be bluffing professionally either, though. Meaning, it is the client's money. If they were okay with me using that tactic, and if they were okay losing the job, because it might also mean it might be 3 of those 10 times, and they might not have the money, and we might have walked away. I would always confer with the client, of course, before actually doing that. But anyway, that's the art of negotiation is a whole big involved thing. But in personal life, we do this professionally and personally. And it's important that we set a positive scenario. So the mindset I want you to go in with, especially if this is your a primary relationship in your life, is I always try to set it up that, hey, this is not you against me. This is us against this problem. I have no doubt we will figure it out. And I really mean that. I'm also willing to talk about it for a long time until we do figure it out personally. Maybe because I'm a therapist, maybe because I like to talk, I don't know. But rather than going in and feeling like you want to attack the other person, because when we do that, first of all, it's not a power position at all. It's very brief. The satisfaction of being attacking is super brief. And then it has damaged your position so much. Because a lot of times if we're attacking, we're making it personal. We are saying sort of mean things to strengthen our position. But saying mean things, can I tell you, literally never strengthens your position. It lowers your integrity. All right, so I always think about myself like my greatest power in any negotiation is to never let anyone else's behavior inspire me to lower my integrity. Even if they go low. I'm with Michelle Obama. They go low, I'm going high. That's it. Now, I'm not going to let someone be abusive. If that's what's happening, I will end the conversation. But sometimes somebody having a moment, a heated moment, an outburst, that doesn't have to, for me, that doesn't have to be the end of the conversation. If they're sorry about it, they say they're sorry. I say, okay. If it's me, I hope that my husband or my sister or my best friend will give me that same grace, because we're all human beings. So sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Using humor, I think, is really helpful. And I don't mean mocking the other person. I mean finding humor in the situation that you can mutually sort of let off steam and have a laugh about something. Just a little levity, I think, is really, really helpful in any kind of a negotiation. I think it's good if you can, with the lockdowns and all, if you can do it in person, that's great. If you can't, listen, we're all living on Zoom, fine. But it's very important, to the best of our ability, when we are going to the mat for something, when we are negotiating or fighting for something, that we stay really calm, right? Because being any kind of activated is how you give up your power. Being calm is, and my feeling is, if you can't be calm and stay calm, then you're not really ready to have the conversation. There's more you need to journal about. You can write about how you're feeling. And I think it's a great idea, when you're planning to have the conversation or the negotiation, is to write out how you feel. And if there's anything that is sticky or heated or that gives you like a flash of anger when you're writing about it, dive a little more deeply into that, because it can be really helpful to sort of clear your mind and clear your emotional space before you go in to any kind of negotiation, whether it's a boundary conversation, whether it's negotiating for more money at your workplace. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful to you. I want to know, do you have any gems for when you have to fight or when you feel like something's worth fighting for? Any great ideas of how to do it? I would love to hear all about it. So please, in the comments, either here or wherever you are, give me your 2 cents on all of this. I super appreciate you being here, you being a part of my crew. If you are on Instagram, let me know what you think about it there. I'm always posting. And if you want to post about this episode, I have a tendency to repost because I love it. It makes me happy. Let's open up a dialogue in the world. I hope this added value to your life. And as always, take care of you.